Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Now, I'm doing a follow-up video of the MAGA hat boys, and this is the statement from this young lad here, and I'm very happy at the way in which he presented the statement and explained everything that went on there. Because you see, there are not many, but there are one or two people in the press who've now not made a full apology, but they've realized that they made a mistake after they've seen the full video. I believe Chris Evans, Captain America, the actor Chris Evans, who plays Captain America, has said his bit, saying that these guys are terrible, blah blah blah. And I'm surprised. I personally am disappointed. He should have kept his mouth up, because I'm a great fan of Captain America, and so great. I'm really disappointed in him. So he clearly hasn't seen the full video. But you see, the problem is, when they do see the full video, nothing will happen. I will give CNN one bit of praise in that they did say they didn't hear any chanting of "Build the Wall" from the lads. They must have seen a slightly longer video. So CNN has said they did not hear that. So this twat, Mr. Phillips, Native American Nathan Phillips, is a complete and total lying bastard. I don't know what he feels to gain from this. I think it's probably just money. He wants the fame, he wants the money, maybe to help top up his pension. I don't know why he's doing this, why he's lying with gusto. But, you know, they don't really care. The regressive left doesn't care about trying to destroy a young boy's life. They would be happy for him to be killed. We've already seen Twitter pictures. I think one of them I've seen of a guy stating, showing a picture of the woodcutter, and you just see a leg being pushed in, and then blood spouting out the other end. And that's a guy put this on Twitter. Why? What that shows you is mental illness. Seriously, it's mental illness. Is it Kathy Griffin? I don't know, that stupid, ugly witch. Says she wants these guys to be found. She wants the names. She wants them shamed. She wants them doxxed. Why hasn't Twitter suspended her? Hate speech. Again, if anybody on the right was to say that, their account would be suspended. I don't use Twitter. I haven't closed it, but because I don't need to. I have very rarely used Twitter. I just post nonsense on there. When I have used it once to criticise a nasty feminist bitch who was talking about, I think it was to do with killing all men. And then I came out, I lost my rag, and I called her a hag and a bitch and a cunt. Account got suspended for a week. It got suspended for a week. What happened to her account? Nothing. She blocked me, obviously. But did Twitter suspend her for her hate speech? No. If it wasn't the fact that we men generally, although it seems there's a lot of guys there who are becoming seriously effeminate and are affected, are triggered by anything offended by any sort of nonsense out there. I mean, I didn't give a shit. I didn't use Twitter that much. I don't use Twitter that much. I don't use Facebook that much, to be honest with you. We need to have, the right needs to get off its backside. Really do, and start setting up networks that can be for people who are centre, libertarians, or for anybody can come on and just talk nonsense without the fear of being shut down, or even being doxxed, or even having the police coming to your door, knocking on your door, and arresting you for so-called hate speech. So this young man has replied, and he's eloquently replied with style. I like this boy. Let's read through. I believe, now remember, this is a 16-year-old boy. He was confronted with something that's never happened to him. What was the boy supposed to do when a toothless old wanker such as this guy comes up to him with his bloody out of tune drumming in his face, literally? What was he supposed to do? He stood his ground. But for what? He was there in the first place. He had every right to stand where he was. Because this wanker is an elder, you're supposed to move out the way for him. What does that mean? Does that mean that this wanker can go into Forks Knox, walk through? This land belongs to us. I'm going to walk through to, into Forks Knox, or into the Pentagon, sorry, and walk into the Pentagon, and unimpeded. Nonsense. Stupid. Times have changed, whether you like it or not. It is what it is. But anyway, I believed I was diffusing the situation. Student issue statement over video showing boys wearing MAGA hats in standoff with Native American man. There was no standoff. If it was a standoff, it was created by this wanker, this Nathan Phillips, this Native American man. He was the cause of the problem. Egged on by the wankers, the Hebrew wanking Israelites, those tossers, those provocateurs. That's what they are. They are a hate group. The Hebrew Israelites are a hate group, true hate group. They are black separatists, black neo-Nazis. They are exactly the same mold, or similar mold as Richard Spence, except Richard Spence doesn't go around, shouting it from the rooftops. I mean, he has his, he eloquently puts his case and argument down and tells people his views. But these guys would like to literally wipe people off the planet if they had the resources and the money to do it. So, as I said, the black Hebrew Israelites are a bunch of wankers. So let's continue. Let's close this because we don't need that. A student captured on video wearing a MAGA cap in a standoff with a Native American protester has denied that he or his fellow pupils harassed the military veteran or taunted him. Remember, they are children. They are under the age of 18. They are classed as children. In fact, I think they're 16 years of age. They were boisterous amongst themselves. They were a group of young men that had been on an anti-abortion march. They are Catholic. They go to a Catholic school. The school and the diocese have thrown the boys under the bus. They've apologized to the said wanker, Mr. Nathan Phillips. Very Native American name. Thrown him and supported him. They probably haven't even seen the full video. They just saw that clip where he's literally up in the face of that young man, beating his drum in his face. The young boy did not move, kept silent, and stared in the face of that man. He was showing him, I will not be intimidated, whatever it is you're doing. As I said, Mr. Phillips is a wanker. The Hebrew Israelites are a bunch of wankers. Young boys, children, are being attacked, and because they're white. But the most important thing, they were wearing the MAGA hats. So today, apparently, anyone who wears a MAGA hat, especially a white male, is basically wearing a Ku Klux Klan hood. That's they've equated that. That's their equivalence. They've equated the MAGA hat to that of the Ku Klux Klan hood. Amid mounting outcry and an announcement from officials at the Catholic high school in Kentucky that it had launched an investigation into the incident, which is what they should have done in the first place, and said, we will get back to you when the investigation has done, when we've seen all the video, looked at everything at hand, then we will make our judgment after that. But straight away they came out with an apology to this wanker, Mr. Phillips. Mr. Phillips, as I said in my video before, needs to be the one to apologize to this young man, getting up into his face, okay, and beating his drum in his face. He needs to be the one to apologize to him. He was the one that was intimidating the young boy. That's why he stood. Well, it's not even, he was standing there in the first place. Mr. Phillips walked up to him. The young boys respectively moved and parted. So the student seen in footage that was shared widely online said he had been seeking, listen to this, he had been seeking to defuse the situation after the protester Nathan Phillips, 64, approached him. This is a big old fucking wanker going up to a young boy and with his drum and intimidate him with his drum. The very first time I saw the video was when I saw him walking up slowly to the young man, standing a few feet away from him, and then gradually moving forward. And I thought, why are you doing that? The boy's not moving. He hasn't done anything. Why are you moving forward? And then I was astonished to see how far the drum was going, right up to the boy's face. And he kept on drumming. I thought, that's way out of order. Way out of order. If Mr. Phillips wanted to continue walking, he could have walked around the boy. Either way, side, he could have walked around him. But this Mr. Phillips, as I said to you, is a damn liar. He made a statement that the boy, when he tried to go right of him, moved right. When he tried to go left of him, moved left. But when you see the video, the boy didn't move at all. He didn't move from his position before Mr. Phillips came there. He was standing there all the time. I am providing this factual account of what happened on Friday afternoon at the Lincoln Memorial to correct misinformation. Remember, misinformation. misinformation and outright lies being spread about my family and me, Nick Sandman said in a lengthy statement provided to the media. Now, if this young man has written this himself, I take my hat off to you. You proved yourself to be very eloquent, clearly a man of intelligence, young man of intelligence, and hopefully we'll see you in the future. A good quality, a good career. You're an upstanding Christian Catholic boy, and that's very important. In this evil, nasty, what's it called? The kind of society we're living with, which is basically godless. The protester, everyone has seen in the video, began playing his drum as he waded into the crowd, which is absolutely correct, which parted for him. I did not see anyone trying to block his path. Nobody was blocking his path. They moved out the way for him. You can clearly see that on the video. He locked eyes with me and approached me, coming within inches, exactly inches of his face. He literally got into this young man's space. That is a violation of that boy's rights. He played his drum the entire time he was in my face. You see it from the video? The drum was played right up to his face eventually. He added, I never interacted with this protester. I did not speak to him. I did not make any hand gestures or other aggressive moves. To be honest, I was startled and confused as to why he approached me. We had already been yelled at by another group. The wankers, the black Hebrew Israelites, the tossbags. They had been goading these young men, goading them, saying that Donald Trump was a homosexual, that they was a faggot, I think it was, and they were just abusing these young boys, and they didn't respond. They just were looking at these bastards, the black Hebrewites. Well, no, they're just wankers. They were just looking at these wankers. They were just talking nonsense to them. I believed that by maintaining motionless and calm, I believed that by remaining motionless and calm, I was helping to defuse the situation, which is what you're told to do. Don't make any gestures. Don't make any movement of your arms. Stand still. But that wasn't enough for those bastards on the left. They were angry that he was smiling, or what they classed as smirking. One twat was talking about that face is punchable. So even when you're standing in your position, you've not moved, you've not done anything, you've not said a word, what expression was this young man supposed to have? Because clearly they weren't happy with him smiling. That smiling of his is now classed as offensive. How dare you smirk at what this wanker, the Native American Mr. Phillips, was doing? How dare you? There were even one guy was shouting, "Go back to Europe," as if that's going to happen anytime soon. It's nonsense. It's never going to happen. Okay, it's 500 years too late. I realized someone had cameras. Oh, sorry. I realized everyone had cameras and that perhaps a group of adults was trying to provoke a group of teenagers into a larger conflict. Absolutely correct. These bastards, the Native American twat and the black twats, were provoking these young men in the hope that there would be some form of rioting from these boys. We must protect these boys. They did absolutely nothing wrong. They were well behaved throughout the whole period, through all the provocation they got from the Hebrew wankers. They did not fall for it. Did not fall for it. They were boisterous. They chanted their school. I don't know what that's a little anthem thing they did, and they were trying. Apparently, they were trying to drown out those wankers, the black whatever you. All right, look, black Israelites, because of their nonsense that they were spouting. You know, that's what they were trying to do. But the trigger point was they were wearing the MAGA hats. That is the offence of these young men. They were wearing MAGA hats. And they need to be burnt at the stake for wearing MAGA hats. I've heard this is a Republican female has made a statement that the person responsible for this, a Republican female Catholic, has stated that Donald Trump was responsible for this situation. Complete bollocks. What complete and total bollocks. I suggest that she goes over to the Democrats this minute. You're not a Republican. Get over to the Democrat side. Outrageous. The boys. Now listen to this. Listen to this. The boys asked permission from adults accompanying them. So these stupid arsehole wankers, these adults who were there, why didn't they sort the situation out? Why didn't they go and talk to this guy, or at least try and remove these boys from the situation? The problem was they were apparently waiting for a bus. So if they'd have moved from that area, they could have missed their bus. But they should have still stepped in. That's what their job is for. Instead, they left these young boys to be exposed to perhaps some form of danger. The boys asked permission from adults accompanying them to perform school spirit chants, he said, to counter a hateful tirade directed their way by another group of demonstrators. The wankers, the black Hebrew Israelites. That's who he's talking about. At no time did I hear any student chant anything other than the school spirit chants. I did not witness or hear any students chant "Build that wall" or anything hateful or racist at any time. Remember, there's one, I think I saw at least two, there was one or two black youth in that group. There's probably more in that group of young boys. And they were targeted by the wankers, the black Hebrew Israelites, those useless tosspots. They were targeted, which is always a tactic of what that people tend to do, to shame people. Again, these are young boys, 16 years of age. Why are you attacking a 16-year-old boy who's going to school? The parents, who may be black or mixed, are sending their children to a good quality top school. And clearly the wankers that are the black Hebrew Israelites are clearly jealous of that. They want them to go to a shitty public school so they don't have a good quality education. They don't want to see black children clearly in good, high-end schools. This is what black people are complaining all the time. They can't get into these white schools, supposedly. But when you do have one or two kids, black children in their schools, they get called all sorts of things because they're in this. This is a 16-year-old boy. He's sent there by his children. By his mother, or his parents, sorry. Extraordinary. In the days since the incident on Friday, the students have been accused of everything from displaying white male privilege to blunt racism. If you haven't realized, all men, you are under attack by the feminist establishment. They will not be satisfied until the white male is removed from America and in Britain, basically in the Western world. That is the agenda of the feminist movement. To make all women lesbians. The males that are available will be those that are not white. They want to remove the white male. It's going to be a bit of a problem with a population of 350 million. 45 of it black, and then 80%, I think, 60 odd percent or something, maybe a bit higher, 65%, maybe even higher, or 70% is white. Well, I think it's 65%. You're going to have a problem trying to get rid of all those whites. It's just ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. Some defending the boys have said they were the victims. Of course they were the victims in the situation. They were the victims. They were minding their own business, waiting for the bus to pick them up to take them home. Pointing to separate footage showing that they had been subjected to a barrage of abuse by a third group, claiming to be Hebrew Israelites who hurled homophobic slurs at them. The Indigenous Peoples Movement, which organised the march Mr. Phillips had attended, said the incident was emblematic of our discourse in Trump's America. It clearly demonstrates the validity of our concerns about the marginalization and disrespect of Indigenous people. Listen, that might be the case in a lot of cases in America. The problem is, in this instance, there was no disrespect other than from Mr. Phillips to these young boys. He's supposed to be the adult, yet he's behaving like a 3-year-old child. Plain and simple. The guy is a nutter. And it shows that traditional knowledge is being ignored by those who should listen most closely. Darren Thompson, an organizer, said in a statement. Absolute nonsense. Mr. Phillips, reportedly a veteran of the Vietnam War, an elder of Nebraska's whatever tribe, told the wankers at the Washington Post he had found the incident intimidating. Oh, Jesus. But you were the one who was doing the intimidation, not the young boys. It was the other way around. This is the reason why he's a lying bastard. He was the one that was creating the tension, nobody else. Oh well, sorry, the wankers, the Hebrew, so-called Hebrew Israelites, were the ones who were initiating and being intimidating to these young guys. Again, here he is. He's a lying bastard that he is. It was getting ugly. The only thing that was ugly there was Mr. Phillips with his fucked up teeth. And I was thinking, I've got to find myself an exit out of here, this situation, and finish my song at the Lincoln Memorial. What the fuck is he talking about? What the fuck is he talking about? Listen to this. It was getting ugly. And I was thinking, I've got to find myself an exit out of this situation and finish my song at the Lincoln Memorial, he said. The only thing I could think of is maybe he thought that it was getting ugly because of the Hebrew Israelites were, abusing these young guys. And then he decided to step in with his drum, thinking that was his way of diffusing the situation. I started going that way, and that guy in the hat, here we go, listen to this, complete shit nonsense. So I think what he expected the boy to move, regardless, to move out the way. So he felt I could wander whatever I want on those steps, and everybody was, because the boys did part for him. Okay. So he felt, this is the way I'm going, you're in my way, you need to move. Why does he need to move? Because he believes that that land that they're standing on is his, and he should be able to wander wherever he wants. You're not supposed to get in his way. If he wants to walk or you're in front of you, then you're supposed to move out of the way from him. Absolute shit and nonsense. Mr. Phillips is the elder. He should have seen this was a young boy, and then he should have walked round him or taken another route. Okay. He could have done that. But he's an obstinate twat. That's the point. I started going that way, and that guy in the hat, the young boy, 16 years of age, in the hat stood in my way, and we were at an impasse. He just blocked my way and wouldn't allow me to retreat. What do you mean? Wouldn't allow me to retreat? The word retreat means to fall back, to go backwards. So he could have gone backwards. He could have gone sideways, left or right. He could have gone past the young man and carried on, but he didn't. He said he continued to drum and thought about his wife, who died of cancer 4 years ago, and other threats faced by indigenous communities. Look, I'm sorry that his wife, she's died, and she died, from cancer. Cancer is a horrible thing. It affects everybody in the world, and hopefully one day we can find a cure for cancer. But in the meantime, why are you trying to? It seems like you want to blame this young man for that situation. What nothing to do with him. He doesn't know your wife. He's never met you before. He said, I felt like the spirit was talking through me. Mr. Sandman added, "This is the first time in my life I've ever encountered any sort of public protest, let alone this kind of confrontation or demonstration. I was not intentionally making faces at Mr. Phillips. He wasn't. He was smiling at him. God Almighty. Are we not allowed, conservatives, allowed to smile now? Or was it because it looked more like a smirk? But even if it was a smirk, is that against the law? Is that showing disrespect for what? No. The young man was facing this guy down, and he was confused about exactly. Remember, he's 16. Okay, he is 16 years of age. I was not intentionally making faces at Mr. Phillips. You were in a situation where you were nervous, you didn't know what was going on, so you decided, I will look this guy down and I will show him that I am not fearful or scared. That's the point. When people do that, a lot of the time when people smile, they want to show defiance to that person. You will not intimidate me, which is what that twat Mr. Phillips was trying to do. He was trying to intimidate this young man. I did smile at one point because I wanted him to know that I was not going to become angry, intimidated, or be provoked into a larger confrontation. So that's his explanation of why he was smiling. Okay. He didn't want to be seen as being Mr. Phillips was intimidated. Remember, he is a 64-year-old man. This is a 16-year-old boy. And you're going up to a young man with a drum making noise in his face, in his ear. That's wrong. The group was reported, the actual boys were in Washington to attend the anti-abortion March for Life event. Good on you. On Saturday, school officials and the Catholic diocese, I think it's called Covington, released a joint statement apologizing for the behavior of the students. These bastards threw these boys under the bus. What great Christians the diocese. What great Christians these people are to throw young men under the bus, because it doesn't matter. Wonder what would have happened if they'd have been young Catholic girls and this twat Mr. Phillips had done that. What would have happened? Oh, if that girl, I think there was a girl there and she'd have been drumming and singing. I think there was a native girl there doing, because she was dancing around, prancing about. What would have happened if they had been Catholic girls? It doesn't matter. The point is, probably wouldn't have happened. Any white male from the age of 0, i.e. born, well, not perhaps from the age, yeah, even from the age of 0, even in the womb. I've heard in the last few years that there was a girl who had become pregnant while at university, and she was having a child, and she found out from that the child was going to be a boy. She was suddenly being triggered by this fact. She didn't now want this child because it was a boy. I don't know what's happened, whether she killed that child and got rid of it, i.e. through using abortion, or whether she had the child. Do not know. But we're now seeing the discrimination. You know, people were bitching about the Chinese one-child policy, which favoured young men, young boys, because families favoured boys rather than girls. That was wrong. Everybody saw it was wrong. And everybody was urging China to change that policy. They've now changed that policy now. So families can now have 2 or 3 children, at least another 2, maybe 3 children. You know. But now we seem to have this policy that male children are now becoming less desirable. Not wanted even. Extraordinary. This is what feminism, that's why feminism is an evil ideology. It's a religion for a lot of dumbass feminist women. It is connected with Satanism. Plain and simple. So here we go. Here are the wankers, the so-called adults who've thrown these boys under the bus. We condemn the actions of the Catholic Covington Catholic high school students towards Nathan Phillips specifically, and Native Americans in general. What did they do that was disrespectful to Mr. Phillips? Not a fucking thing. Nothing. He was the one that approached them. What is wrong with these wankers? You know, what is wrong? Why have they thrown these young men under the bus? I believe the mother, I'm not sure if it's the mother or not, who's responded by saying, she said, I think it was, let's have a look, it's here, that it was black Muslims to blame for high school students' confrontation with Native American man, mother claims. They weren't black Muslims, they are the black black Hebrew Israelites. So she clearly got that wrong. Now, if this is the mother, hopefully she will stand up with her children. The other parents need to come forward and say, no, we're not having this. By hook or by crook, if the school dares to throw their children out, then all the children must leave that school. Okay, all the boys must leave that school in protest and take their money elsewhere. It's not acceptable that they weren't supported. They should have done the investigation first before doing all the nonsense. Instead, they've completely just done a massive knee-jerk reaction. I was very surprised at the school. You know, very surprised. The statement said, the matter is being investigated, which is what you should have been doing in the first place, you bunch of wankers. You should have investigated first. That's the statement you should have come out with. We are investigating the incident, and when we found from our investigation, we will then issue a statement. And we will take appropriate action up to and including expulsions. Wow! So they will actually expel these guys, or any one of those guys, or maybe, all of them? All the young men who attended, who are minding their own business, and are now all going to be tarred with the same brush and could be expelled. I'm putting a message, please. The parents of these boys who are going to that school should make a massive demonstration and should sue the school to within an inch of its life. Okay? To not back these boys and to have thrown them under the bus is a disgrace. I'm just astonished, really. Instead of them saying, we will do an investigation once we've looked at all the evidence and we will come back to you. That's what should have been said. Okay? That is what should have been said. But they immediately apologised to that wanker, Mr. Phillips, for his shenanigans. The complete twat. Very angry about this. I really hate dishonesty. I hate a person who's dishonest. And you can clearly see that Mr. Phillips is a very dishonest person. The Hebrew Israelites are wankers and are dishonest. Plain and simple. Just because a person is dishonest to you, you should stand by your principles. You should always be honest. Always be honest. Don't blatantly lie. A big old wanker of 64 years of age is lying about what happened with a 16-year-old boy in the Lincoln Memorial. Bald-faced lying. And now the wanker, the mayor, has jumped in. A Democrat. What do you expect? There we go. The wanker, a Democrat. What do you expect? The boys have clearly shown their colours, which is they wore MAGA hats, and that is your punishment. As everybody has made a statement, you shouldn't have been wearing the MAGA hats. That's it. So regardless of any of your innocence, you were wearing the MAGA hat, you are going to be punished. So clearly the Catholic Church is not happy that these young men wore the MAGA hats. That is their punishment. They're clearly, those wankers, the officials in the diocese, they are on the left, which I'm very surprised. Said the appalling, this is, oh God, the appalling footage had rightly inspired a tidal wave of condemnation, and that his town was now being linked with intolerance and ethnic intimidation. The only person who was intimidated was the young boy. Plain and simple. The only one who was being shown intolerance were the young boys by those bastards, the black Hebrew Israelites. Specifically, they were being shown intolerances and intimidation by those wankers. Because of the boys' actions, writers reported. Mr. Sandman, the student, said he had forwarded his account of what had happened to officials at the school and was willing to cooperate with investigators. Jesus H. Christ. Is this going to? Do you think this is going to end up with the police? Is there going to be criminal proceedings brought out on this boy? Because if it does go to court, a criminal record will appear on this boy. I mean, he's not going to get justice. I mean, you've got women on the justice system wearing pussy hats. And when you have that, you're finished. You ain't going to get justice, mate. I am being called every name in the book which is a disgrace, including a racist, because he was wearing a MAGA hat. So you're a racist. That's it. Finish. You know, you might as well have warned the Ku Klux Klan. Good. You know. And I will not stand for this mob-like character assassination of my family's name. Well said, young man. Well said. My parents were not on the trip. Absolutely. And I strive to represent my family in a respectful way in all public settings. Well said, young man. He and his family had received threats following the incident, he said. Well, you presented yourself very eloquently, very well, young, and it's good to see that. And we all need to show support for this young man and the other young man, and clearly the school are a bunch of assholes for not supporting these boys. And if I was a parent, I would be looking to remove my son from that school and put him into another school, or at least force those bastards to issue an apology personally to this young man and to the rest of the boys as well for being accused of being racist. They demonstrated none of that at all. Okay, so well done, young man, for defending yourself and not allowing cowards to try and destroy you. So we wait for the update. If I hopefully see the update, I'll post it again. Anyway, thanks for listening.